Yeah, no, I'm stumped as well. Like, are they charitable?
I don't know. I don't think they're that charitable. They still,
I don't
it's
know.
their job after all. They still need to make money.
But I mean, it's Christmas.
Yeah, and the Grinch exists too. Not everyone likes Christmas.
Well, yeah, we'll find out in a few days' time. Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Outback, Gamehouse, Lord of the Rings, Heroes of Middle-earth. So this week's episode, we got a bit to cover in terms of the last of the Dol Guldurs and the Glyph announcement as well. But also, just today, we've had the recent announcement for this month's release. So we'll go into that, but we'll first start with the last of the Dol Guldurs in Charu. So her event has been out for a few days for us now. And so I've had the chance to mess around with the full team. Not sure, like I don't have them built up tremendously. Well, my Black Beast is level 60, fairly geared to 8 and got a decent amount of abilities, but the other two, I just don't have the resources to build them up tremendously. I mean, as a team, it's been hit and miss. So, I mean, we'll discuss Charu obviously being the latest of the 3-man team. So her kit, like on paper, reads pretty decently, to be honest. She does the poison, she's got the summon, and good thing is the summon also counts as a additional binding character.
Yeah.
Which adds to.
She's got the boon steal as well.
Yeah, so on her second special, she steals everything but taunt or provoke, so she won't steal that, but she steals that. And then with her passive, she can transfer one of those boons over to Black Beast as well.
Yeah.
And her first special she summons and then she grants advantage as well. So reads really well. And maybe if I build them up more, like the two support characters, that team could really start to gel. But kind of as it stands, I think it's the fact that when they die, they just kneel over, and then you got to kind of wait for them to get their turn back to do anything.
Explaining to you, they sit down.
yeah. But I mean, when they get hit, they gain turn meter.
Yeah.
The thing is, they need to get hit. So AoEs will hit them, but I find no one targets them with single target attacks.
Yeah.
So once they're kind of knelt over, they're not being targeted. So you just got to like slowly wait for them to regain their turn.
Yeah.
And so like when one of them dies, okay, cool. Then the other one dies, and then the summon dies, and it's just Black Beast. And then once Black Beast dies, they all die.
Yeah.
Well, they all die, right? Yeah. If they're in bind, then they all die with him. I mean,
he definitely kind of works. Another tank.
Yeah, something else that's needed. I mean, and maybe if I get their abilities up, it might feel a bit different. But as it stands, like he kind of, maybe like how we spoke about maybe healers would be detrimental because you kind of want people to die so he gains turn meter, but at the same time, it's like a balance. Like you don't want them to die too quickly because then it's just him.
Yeah.
So you do kind of need to keep them alive, but you do need them to, deplenish their.
Well,
yeah.
Or you need, which I can see them easily adding a character for this in the future. You need someone to attack them like Shagrat can to increase their turn meter yourself, so they can stand up a lot quicker.
Yeah. So did some testing. Shagrat is one of those characters that do synergize well, and they recommended two of the other mortar characters, and they released a ridiculous pack.
Yeah,
it was like, for us, it was like $240.
Yeah, we don't talk about that. I loved all the American guys in our guild saying like $170. I'm just like, oh, we won't tell them at the price it is here.
But like, I don't know about Star Wars Galaxy of Hero, but I've never seen a pack for that much in MSF in my whole, however many years it's been out for, 5 years or whatever. I've never seen a pack for that much. It was just mind-boggling, and it's not like the full Mordor team. It's just too, like Uzan and who the other fucking guy is. Like, yeah, it's like it felt very specific. Like who went and said, "Hey, CG, I kind of need these two built up. You could do me a solid and just release a pack." Yeah, no worries, no worries. just hit refresh and you'll see the pack for you.
Yeah, it's a very specific pack. Like it's weird, and I don't even think Star Wars had a pack that
No,
bad.
it's
To be honest,
so bad, but yeah, I mean, it got me thinking about Mordor characters, and then I landed on Shagrat, and you're right. Like, I think he synergizes well with because he's also kind of doing that sacrificial kind of gameplay. But yeah, when he attacks, it counts as turn meter gain for those characters that are in bind. So he is one option, and I feel like he helps tremendously just to bring those characters back to kind of life.
Yeah.
And then I'm kind of unsure who the fifth could be. Like, I could use one of the other Mordor characters, but I feel like maybe a healer isn't a bad idea now.
Honestly, yeah. I guess the Mordor healer, but I'm just trying to think of any others. None that I can think of. But yeah, I can easily see them releasing more characters for that squad that would do those types of things very easily. It's just a matter of when, I guess. Yeah. Probably not for a while.
No. At least not this year.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't even say start of next year. I'd say it'll be a while before we see anything.
Yeah. Next market.
Well, I mean, based on how we'll go into this month's proposed characters, but that came out of nowhere. But I guess we'll talk more about the big topic, which is the glyphs. So, they came out with a blog post detailing the different types of glyphs and how they work. I have to mention that myself and a few of the community members and content creators were given the chance to attend a Q&A session. So if you guys haven't seen anything about it, there's a video that I did, but also Swag and Teacher, plus the Lord of the Rings.gg guys also had a blog post on it. So there's plenty of information out there from the Q&A session, along with EA's blog post as well. So we like, I know you and I have been quite excited and eager to see the glyphs, and we've been theory crafting in terms of what glyphs work well together and for which characters and stuff like that. I know a lot of other looking at the community, both on the main server, our cluster server, and stuff like that. Like people are theory crafting, and it's good to see. In terms of the different combinations you could do and how they interact with each particular character. And I don't think there's a one set that applies to all kind of thing. And even with any particular character, like we've discussed particular characters and we're like, you could do this combination, but then this combination isn't a bad shout. I guess once we start getting glyphs and using them, we'll get to see what's best in slot for each particular character. But at this stage, it's kind of fun doing that theory crafting.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun actually, and making the graphics that I've been making as well. That's been pretty fun.
Yeah, so if you guys haven't checked them out, Minzy's done some infographics for some characters, and that you can find them on our server under Minzy's resources. But yeah, it's been some fun. Now, like, what are your thoughts in terms of theory crafting and particular sets? Like, do you think some sets seem to be like meta within the glyphs themselves?
I think Lembus will be pretty strong for supports because it will just the whole thing for supports is their kit really. So getting their abilities back quicker is just going to be good, just straight up. Healers as well, in a way. The thing I've been tossing up the most is the life stealer for healers.
Yeah.
In one way, I see it as, even though it's not much, it's only like 2%, but it keeps them alive for that a little bit longer when they attack. But they don't have high damage to begin with. So I'm like, is it really going to make that much of a difference? And do you just chuck on something like Armor Piercer just so they can hit that little bit harder since they're going to be doing really low damage anyway?
Yeah. It's one of those things. I think in general, I've been leaning towards Lembus plus life stealer for most support characters. Because Bloodlust, they're not the ones generally doing the last hit kills. Again, Raider, not really. Shield Wall only applies to tanks. And then you're left with Armor Piercer, which isn't a bad option because you're right, they're not really gaining too much because they're not doing too much damage because you only gain 1% of the damage that you do. So I've kind of to and fro in that sense as well, like Lembas plus Life Stealer or Lembas plus Armor Piercer. But in terms of like Lembas versus other major sets,
Last Stand's a good one.
Last Stand is good. Vitality feels good, but it depends on the team and on the character. Because, say for the elves, it's quite common for them to be at 3 stacks of regen,
or at least 2, yeah,
or at least 2. So you're not really capitalizing on that particular glyph. But Last Stand's decent. So with the Dispel, and I've been wondering whether that could do well for like Chapter 3, for instance.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
You know, if you're struggling for Chapter 3, just put Last Stand on all of them.
I can see Last Stand being a really good PvP one. I think Last Stand's going to be not RNG, but it's going to be like hit or miss, I guess, where it could have insane clutch like gameplay in PvP, or like save you at that like last minute. But on the other hand, it just might not do anything at all. So yeah, we've got to really test it to see what's going to be like really good and not, because at the moment you can only make predictions.
Yeah, 100%. Withering, I think, is strong. Well, it seems strong, but it's really only applicable to a few characters, like usually the shadow characters, where they're doing a lot of banes. So I think Isengard, like that's going to be stock standard across most of them.
Honestly, most of the shadow teams we have will probably use it. Isengard, Garadrim, and Goblins.
Yeah.
I can say they're very strong on Goblins.
Yeah, Goblins, Mordor as well. That's another one.
Yeah.
Where Withering will play a big part. Although some of those characters may, it may be better for Lembas. Again, it's usually the support ones amongst those characters where Lembas might be really strong. Now, in terms of the minor sets, it's interesting. Like when we were going through it, we found in general with the deeps, like the DPS characters, to skip the major sets and go with 3 minor sets. Like when I look at our kind of brainstorming that we've been doing, so many of the deeps are either 2 times Bloodlust plus an Armor Stealer, or 1 Bloodlust and 2 Armor Stealer, or even an Armor Piercer, or even a Life Stealer in there. A couple of them we've even done Raider because they hit first, so they're going to make use of that. With the enemies above 50%. I think in general that's a pretty good general rule. Like with the deeps, it's generally kind of like the 3 of the minors are probably better.
Yeah, I think it depends, because like you have characters like Lomian, for example, where most of his damage is coming from his abilities. Outside his abilities, he's not really doing too much. He's kind of just counter-attacking and just hitting with his basic, which does grant him might, and it does hit fairly hard. But for that really big burst damage that he brings, it's his abilities. So I can see a case for characters like him of Lembas, where you just want to get those skills back as fast as possible. But characters like Elra here, where they're just going to be kind of just retaliating most of the time and like hitting fairly hard with those retaliates, I think you just kind of want to use Bloodlust to try and just get those kills. Bloodlust is so strong. 30% turn meter if you get a kill is insane.
Yeah, so a lot of those deeps characters that are going to be doing a lot of the kills, that's going to be pretty strong.
Yeah.
And then you got Shield Wall, so that's really only going to apply for the characters that do Taunt or Provoke, as stipulated. Again, that's potentially a strong kind of 3-time set that you can put on some of those characters to get that 9% less damage by having that. But again, it's going to be case by case, because sometimes you may want that last stand to do a cleanse.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. I can see Last Stand also being really good for tanks since they'll be getting hit the most, really.
Yeah. Yeah, so there's a bit of options there. Like early on, it seems like there's kind of a few sets that are coming out. But again, I think there's like alternatives out there for each characters, and once we kind of get the glyphs and start playing around with them, we're not going to fully know until then.
I think it's also going to change a lot as we get better and better glyphs. So, for example, if we just get like when we start getting glyphs, sorry, we're really going to not have that much like crit, for example, and the vitality major set, sorry, that only procs if you get critically hit. So as our mods build up and we start getting more and more crit, I can see the value of vitality getting better and better. Same with block.
Yeah.
So I think it's going to kind of be an ever evolving thing. If that makes sense.
Block's an interesting one. Like that, you could make a strong and annoying team with block.
Yeah. Imagine dwarves. That'd be bad. Or even just Gondor, of course.
God, I like Boromir. Like he blocks pretty well as is. You could just make him into a blocking machine.
Yeah.
You could probably auto just chapter 3 just with him just sitting there going, "Come at me."
That's another thing. I think there's definitely going to be two types of metas with glyphs. Definitely one for PvP and PvE. Well, for raids at least. It was kind of like that in Spogor, but I think most people kind of just use like a default kind of glyph, like high speed, good enough for everything. I don't think that, of course, it will be the case for some characters, but I think you're going to have a lot of sets that you want to like swap in and out, especially for the chapters. Like as you said, Last Stand would be so good for chapter 3. And Raider for the Balrog and the Troll is going to be really good.
Yeah. I think there's going to be a general set, but then there's going to be specific set depending on whether it's PvP, whether it's a particular raid chapter and stuff like that.
And depending on how much you want to invest into it and like your level of play as well, of course.
Yeah. I am glad that the speed isn't the original estimated 90 that they came out with, and they've made it 45. I think that's, and I mentioned that, and I think that's a good spot where it allows for the other secondary stats to be contenders.
Yeah.
Because if it was 90, I think like more times than not, you're going to go speed just because of how much speed you're going to gain.
Yeah, exactly.
But
like to be honest, you kind of still do want to do that.
you still do, but when we were going through it, we were like, you know what, we could just do extra crit or extra damage and just let this. Don't worry about speed or extra health and extra. There were cases where we were just like, fuck the speed.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, characters like Eladin, Elrond, you kind of just, well, at least in my opinion, you want to build them full glass cannon.
Yeah. Now I guess that leads on to this month that glyphs are intended to come out in December. But we've also got news for the releases for December as well. And they've been toying us with the next legendary, and we've finally got an announcement for that next legendary.
Yes.
Unfortunately, not a shadow legendary. It is another light legendary yet again.
Yes.
And it's old boy Thorin. So that was actually the first contender for a lot of people in the community was Thorin.
Yeah.
Because they were releasing dwarves. Dwarves were in stores. Dwarves were in calendars. Just, lift a rug and there's a dwarf there. And it's just, all signs pointed to dwarves. And then we had
kind of died off a bit. Yeah.
it died off a bit. Then we had like the necromancer that started to gain some kind of legs because of Black Beast and references to necro and stuff like that. But
I can see him being the first shadow legendary, and I think we'll probably get our first one next year. I don't think they'll do a third light, or if they do, that's fucking ballsy.
Yeah, it was Thorin all along. Now his team, interesting one. So Thorin's company, we've obviously got Killian Philly, but then Thorin, and there's going to be an additional two to round out that team of 5.
And Biffa. Yeah, Biffa.
Biffa?
Yeah, Biffa's Thorin's company, isn't he? Is he? Don't. I swear, I'm not talking Barlin. I'm not crazy this time. he does. He's got the Thorin's company tag. Ah. Sorry, I should have said Barlin. Oh, that was so embarrassing.
Barlin's farmable. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
Look, he's in store.
Oh, I said that so confidently.
Oh, you gotta have conviction when you say things, right? You gotta follow through. Chest up, you know. What are you talking about?
Pretty much. Oh god, that was funny. But yeah, Biffa has the Thorin's company tag as well.
Yeah. So what is it? Killy Philly, Biffa, and then you got Thorin himself. So it's a 6-man team then.
Yes, I think.
Well, I mean, because he's coming out with Bilbo and Bombur.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me though. To be honest, that's what they do in Swoggle a lot. They have like rebels as a whole, and then they split the rebels up into different types of factions. So you got rebel fighters, you got the what's called, the guys from Rogue One. I think it's literally called the Rogue One squad. So it's not really surprising to me that they're going to have multiple different teams. I can probably see 2 different Thorin's company teams.
Yeah, I mean, they could, but I mean, it's just surprising that so early on there's. I mean, because like when you look at Rivendell, there's only 5 Rivendell. Like there's other elves, but there's only 5 Rivendell. Well, what do you think about the 2 new ones that they're coming out with? I mean, you got Bombur, but Bilbo. I mean, Bilbo makes sense as well.
Yeah.
I was hoping Bilbo would lean closer to the Hobbits than the Thorin's company, but
I mean, he'll have some synergy with Hobbits.
Or they'll release another Bilbo later. They probably will.
Yeah, because this is as I said, this is like the Hobbit era. Bilbo. My brain's not working today.
I mean, he'll have some synergy with the Hobbits, and even the Hobbits themselves. They have synergy where it just calls up Hobbits, and it's not any particular Hobbit. So that's a potential thing. Maybe you could take out Strider, although Strider has almost the glue for that team because plus he's the leader.
Well, that's what I'm thinking. If they make Bilbo a leader, that could potentially free up Strider, and maybe they give Strider or rename him and give him a fellowship tag.
I doubt they'd do that.
I doubt that too. But
they would just release. They would just release fellowship.
Yeah, for sure. I just wanted to throw it out there.
Wishful thinking.
But yeah, that if they did that, gave Bilbo the leader. Yeah, leader. Jesus Christ, my brain. If they made him a leader for the Hobbits, that would leave 5 for Thorin's company.
Yeah. So. I mean, and that could happen. Like they've released Legolas as a leader for the elves, and that gives, that's given people another option whether they don't have Elrond, but even having Legolas lead leftover elves on his own team. So, I hopefully they do because I think that'd be a good idea for players. We'll have to see
more options.
Yeah, more options. And I know there's dwarf fans out there that they don't want to be stained or tainted with a Hobbit amongst the myths. Yes. Not looking at anyone in particular, Jimmy. But
yeah.
But if you take Bilbo out, then you're left with a 5-man dwarf Thorin team.
Yeah, it's interesting that they're releasing him first, Thorin first, and then the 2 marquees. That's the controversial, but the big topic at the moment.
Which makes me think that potentially Bilbo may be, whilst not the legendary, kind of the character that's needed. Like it's almost like running Elrond without Elladan, for instance. He's just not as good.
That's what I was thinking. If they release like Thorin. Oh, Jesus Christ! Of course, when they release Thorin, he could just be like a marquee level character, but with Bombur, and Bilbo, that could raise him to that legendary level, which is a weird way of doing it, but it's not unlike CG to do that.
The other thing is the unlock requirement. So we don't know yet, and we'll know next week when they release the kits.
Yeah.
But do you think the unlock requirements is dwarves themselves? So by releasing him first, that crosses out the option that Bombur could be used, and then you're left with the 5 that we have in game.
I'm not sure. I have a feeling that they're going to release the legendary and the marquees at the same time, or close to. But at the same time, that doesn't really make sense, because then just why release the legendary at all?
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like dwarves is too easy.
Well, I mean,
I think everyone thinks dwarves is too easy.
It is. Like Gimli being very easy.
Yeah.
Billy now being very easy because he's a daily plus farmable as well. And then you got Killy and Fro, who are farmable if you've been farming them.
You got Balin.
You got Balin, who's not farmable. Just making sure you know the difference between your dwarves.
Sorry, Biffa, did you say?
And then you got Biffa, that's, pretty decent farm.
Yeah. Yeah, Biffa's a pretty easy farm. Like, I think mine's already close to 6-star.
Yeah. He's not a hard farm. So you're right. I mean, I think there's going to be a lot of free-to-play players that could potentially have a 6-star ready Thorin if they release dwarves, or even 7 stars. If they
I'm pretty sure Jimmy's like really close to 7-star, if not already there.
I believe he has 5 dwarves at 7 stars. I know Killy Philly and Gimli are.
Yeah.
And he went hard out on Biffa on release, and I think he's 7 stars. It's just Balin, I'm not too sure on. Yeah. Fro, he's been farming, and I think Fro's 6 stars from memory. So
that's right, yeah. But he hasn't put that much into it.
He just hasn't found a use for her. But Swag swears by Fro, so I think he's going hard at Fro now. So he could potentially have 7-star on release. Okay. Now, speaking of that, they gave us very short notice as well.
That's very typical of CG.
Well, I mean, with Elrond, we had a bit of time.
True. Well, we don't know when he's actually releasing, to be fair.
I thought they said, or maybe that was just rumors, but I thought there was only like a few weeks.
I'm not too sure, to be honest.
It's not on the blog, that's for sure.
Yeah. I think they gave us about a month around, I think.
Yeah, they gave us a bit. Plus the marquees came before him.
Yes.
So that gave it a bit longer.
Yeah.
So if it isn't the dwarves, we all agree, I think dwarves is quite easy. Love it to be dwarves, but I don't know where they'd make money, and it's all about making money, right?
Yeah. Well, that's what I mean. If Thorin is like only at marquee by himself, like without Bombur and Bilbo, if he only like kind of meh character, but he like really needs those two to be really good, or even just one, then that's potentially where they could make the money. But it's also just a weird way of doing it. So, I could see potentially goblins being required.
Yeah. Would it make sense though? I guess Misty Mountain makes sense. And the goblins they've got the Misty Mountain tag.
Yeah.
And that's a lot of characters if they go Misty Mountain.
Yeah.
Maybe goblins make sense. Like,
especially because you got the Great Goblin, which also shows up in The Hobbit.
Yeah, because CG's usually kind of kept the unlock requirements, somewhat linked to the legendary them.
Yeah, some of it's pretty stretched sometimes, but most of the time it is related, technically.
God, if it's goblins, I will panic. Which makes me think maybe it is goblins.
Well, I mean, I don't think many people have goblins built up at all. So, in terms of money, it would get people... I don't know if it'd get people to panic spend. It would get some, definitely. But I think the overall...
Is Thorin a big enough character for people to be like, I feel FOMO and I need to get him? I don't think so.
Also, the fact that we haven't really seen much goblin packs lately. So that kind of just makes me think that it's not as well.
Not the goblins?
Yeah.
Do they release packs before? Because the packs they've been releasing recently is Mordor.
Yeah.
And
sometimes they do on Star Wars. Sometimes.
like if it's Mordor, that to me, lore wise, doesn't make sense.
No, not at all. It could be Dol Guldur because very far stretched. They kind of are linked to the Hobbit, kind of, but like,
Yeah.
yeah,
I would say Balin's expedition is a closer link, whilst it's a shattered timeline.
Yeah.
Is an easier sell than Dol Guldur.
Yeah, for sure.
Maybe it is Balin's expedition.
Yeah, set that in Guild.
Balin's expedition plus Thorin's company.
2 tags.
Well, because Balin's expedition is only 3, and Thorin's company will only be 3 as well. So you got 6 to choose from.
Yeah.
Pick your best 5.
That's true. They also in Star Wars, they go sometimes with specific characters. So I don't know if that's a thing in MSF.
You mean the whole Phoenix unlock being villain mystic controllers, some random tags?
And not like that. I mean, like they will straight up say you need this character to unlock him. So, but they in Star Wars, it's usually not this early. It's usually a lot later and a lot more like powercraft legendaries. Pretty much as the game got older, they started doing like more very specific requirements.
No, I don't believe MSF did like 5, like this character, that character.
Yeah.
It's usually been this team. They've done like a few where it's been like this team, and because of the team's a 4 or 3 man team, it's like this team plus these 2 over here.
Well, like for example, General Anakin Skywalker, his event it's got quite a few layers to it because it's kind of a multi-stage event. But you need to build Ahsoka, you need to build General Kenobi, you need to build C-3PO, you need to build a Sarge Ventress, the droids. I think Episode 3 Anakin, I don't remember exactly, but yeah. They straight up just say you need to build these characters.
Yeah.
And eventually they got to like you need to get to this gear requirement.
Yeah. I think we're too early for that, but I could be mistaken.
I don't expect them to, but I could see them doing it for
Thorin.
I mean, like they could say that you need Balin to unlock Thorin.
Yeah, but then you'd need 2 others from somewhere.
Yeah, that's true.
But that's where I think they may say Balin plus Thorin. Thorin's company, Balin's expedition.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah.
Because that would leave out Gimli, who's a very easy farm, and that would leave out Fro. So you got 2 easy farms in that list. You got 2 easy farms being Killy and Philly. Biff is relatively easy, but people haven't been farming him from the get go.
Why not? Why not?
No, I mean like from the start of the.
Oh, right, gotcha.
From global launch, like it's only been a month since he's been farmable.
I think so, yeah.
So, like people have obviously spent to have him at 5 stars or more, but in general, people are maybe about 4 stars if they've been farming him. And some people probably may not have been farming him because he hasn't really been critical, although there's been dwarf players that have come out and said, hey, he's actually pretty decent.
He is, yeah.
But
the whole might thing when they gain defensive and all that, yeah.
But it's not a character that everyone has on their farm list or has on their favorited list,
I mean, I guess it's just I finished all the other characters in that store, so I'm like, why wouldn't I farm Balin?
Minzy, not all dwarves look the same. Stop being a fucking heightist. Look at their beard, like they're different beards,
Of course.
You got Balin's got the white flowing beard.
They're also distinguishable.
Can't wait.
The other farms.
Can't wait for you to start calling Thorin like one of those. Like I said, I can't wait for you to start confusing Thorin for Balin or Biffer.
Oh, right, gotcha. Oh god, yeah, that would be bad. As I was saying, like I've already finished the other farms in that store, so I kind of just assumed that other people would be farming Biffer too.
Which store is he in again? He's in the
guild one, the one that gives you guild currency.
It's in the guild, right? Yeah. So it's fairly easy.
Yeah.
That's true. Yeah. But some people may have been going for the gear. Like I've been tempted by the gear, or I think Guild Store you can also buy XP as well, which isn't a bad option.
That's
No, that's the arena
Marvel.
store.
Yeah, yeah,
You can buy the ability mats.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting, like what they're going to do. I'm sure that out of everything, no one will have guessed it. It's just going to be some random ass requirements. Like, okay,
Haradrim.
yeah. But to be honest, I can really see Barlin being required to unlock him. I know a lot of people are like, no, because it's like, what if Barlin? I'm like, yes, but he's the latest, not the latest marquee, but
I think it will have an element of having a new set of characters.
yeah.
Like, it wouldn't make sense for them to release a legendary that's pretty easy to obtain if they go full dwarves.
Yeah, exactly. Unless they're just being extremely generous, but it's like, okay, that's just
yeah.
weird.
I mean, let's just ignore the fact that they released a $240 pack just the other day. Yeah. No, they're totally generous. Yeah, 100%.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh god.
Oh, speaking of blog posts and stuff, so we were meant to get the road ahead, or the journey ahead, as they call it in this game. I believe this week, but that's been delayed, and that's because there's Thanksgiving, whatever that is, in America.
Yes.
So they obviously, I mean, yeah, even developers need family time, so I get it. Hopefully we do get.
Said
What's
that,
that?
like, I think they said that one of them had like actual family issues, like health issues as well.
Yeah, I believe that came in the commentary afterwards. So yeah, I mean it's unfortunate, but yeah, hopefully we do see something along the journey ahead in the next few weeks, at least before Christmas. Give us an idea of what 2024 is planned for and what that will bring.
I think they'll definitely do it before Christmas. I think they said probably not next week, but the week after. I believe that's what they said.
Yeah, but they do have Glyphs as well. That's potentially coming. We're thinking around that time as well.
Yeah.
I guess the big one people are looking forward to is multi-squad PvP, and I think that's what's going to be detailed front and center in that journey ahead.
Yeah.
I do kind of want to see what other game modes they're thinking about in that journey ahead.
I wanted territory battles. I know a lot of people don't like territory battles, but I want territory battles. It would be so cool. You could literally have the Battle of Helm's Deep. It would just be sick.
What about like in Star Wars, you guys have got ships, and that's a whole layer of management, resource management, and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Do you think it's translatable into this game, or like what would they do?
The closest thing they could do is mounted units, which, like, I can see them doing it down the line. I just don't think they'll do it now. Not within the next few years, at least.
Yeah, like mounted units. I saw people talking about Ents and stuff like that, and I don't know. Like I would think if you had an Ent, they would just make them a large light character.
Yeah.
Like if Treebeard ever came into the game, I would think he'd be a large light character.
Yeah. For sure. I think you can't do a full team of Ents. Well, maybe you could. Maybe you could have like Greybeard and then like Ent Sprouts. Is that a thing? So you've got a whole bunch of mini trees, and then you've got one big tree.
I could see them releasing like another version of Merry and Pippin, maybe.
I think they'll all release like the Fellowship versions of Merry, Pippin, Frodo, and Sam. I can see them releasing a Rohan, Merry, Gondor, Pippin, and I don't know what they'd call it, but like pretty much the Return of the King, Sam and Frodo.
Yeah.
Withered. I don't know. Just done with the life. Deflated. I don't know. Yeah. I think we'd see a lot of different versions of different characters.
Yeah, I mean, they've got plenty of options, plus the Shattered Timeline gives them an additional layer on top of that. So
yeah,
they can just that shattered, like we said it, like that whole shattered timeline just lets them
Infinite possibilities.
do whatever the fuck they want and just call it, oh, it's a shattered timeline.
Pretty much, yeah.
Um,
I don't even think there's a point. I was going to ask, like, what do you think the next shattered timeline, what if character would be? But there's like literally no point in trying to speculate because it can just be fucking anything. It could be the Ninja Turtles for all we know in Lord of the Rings.
what if I'm thinking like a shadow, like I would love to see a shadow character. What if ooh.
I was going to say like corrupted Boromir, but that's just not even what if, that is just Boromir.
What if Boromir lived?
Ooh, that could be cool. I like that actually.
But I was thinking like, what if Saruman didn't get swayed? Like, what if he remained Saruman the White?
Then we wouldn't have Gandalf the White.
Yeah, but this is a shattered timeline.
True. Yeah, that'd be interesting too. I think we'll get a full Wizards team, which I'm kind of excited about. Radagast the Brown, Gandalf the White, Gandalf the Grey, Saruman. That'd be sick. Just fireballs everywhere.
Just a team of AoEs.
Just a nuke.
They probably would.
Yeah.
Probably would do a wizard team. Does Gandalf have a wizard tag?
I don't think so. It's not to say that they won't release it in the future.
No, he doesn't.
God damn it. Why have you done this, CG? Give me wizards.
But yeah, they could always do that in the future.
Mm.
All right. Well, we've had a bit to discuss between the glyphs and the month ahead. I guess we'll just end off how we normally end off, talking about our rosters. So I've been building dwarves, thankfully, because they've been quite strong. I've got my Biffa to actual level 6 leadership ability, and it's been decent. It's been decent. Like I've been using his leadership ability over Balin's for that dwarf team. In most cases, obviously, chapter 4, I think you can't go past Balin's leadership ability, but in the others, Biffus has been quite good, especially when you put him next to Rumel and the defensive, just so good. So yeah, I've been leveling up and building the dwarves. I think that's predominantly like I built up Black Beast, but I kind of built up the others just to see how it was. Kind of probably just going to leave that team be, to be honest. I just haven't seen enough. And again, maybe like in PvP, they may come to shine, but I think CG have released that team in a way that they're not real raid meta.
Yeah.
I just feel like they're just missing something to be kind of decent in raid. But yeah, I can't really go wide each time. I'm just building the dwarves and just slowly getting their abilities as I get purple mats. But yeah, that's me. What about you?
I have finally finished my road to Rivendell. Finally, Jesus Christ, that took so much longer than I thought it was going to. I've started working on my Rohan, but now I'm like hard pivoting to dwarves because obviously. Yeah, besides that, I want to work on Rohan. I've been working on Eldred, and I'm trying to convince you to as well.
I mean, if enough, I mean, like, some people have come out and said, hey, it's helped real well. We had a guy that came out today with chapter 3 and said, hey, I made 300k improvement with my Rohan team now that I've got Eldred in the mix. I'm just like, I don't see how.
I don't know how
why,
either, especially for chapter 3.
He doesn't cleanse. Like if he had a cleanse, that would be so good, but doesn't. It's just to heal and heal.
Yeah.
And I'm just wondering, how is he making chapter 3 easier for you guys?
I don't know about chapter 3, but chapter 2, he definitely made it so much easier for me.
I mean, that I could see, because you just want to keep topped up.
Yeah.
And that makes sense.
The constant regens that he throws out is actually really good.
Yeah. I could see chapter 1 him being good for that team as well. Chapter 4, again, it's the same.
I don't think any team does really well besides elves and dwarves, I guess.
Dwarves do well. I mean, because of Balin's really made for chapter 4. But you kind of need cleansing. Like you need cleansing and healing.
Yeah.
And the elves do that. You got especially if you're throwing in Naramiri, you've got 2 cleansers, 2 healers.
Yeah.
They do well. And then Balin led dwarves, you've got him protecting them against blinds and stuff like that. You've got cleansers as well on top of that. And then outside of those 2 teams, it just, at least for me, just suffers severely just because you don't have that consistent cleanse and heal.
Yeah, pretty much.
So yeah, I'm not too sure about chapter 4 in terms of other characters outside. And I mean, maybe there are. I haven't stumbled across it.
Thorin is probably going to be really good for it. Probably.
But yeah, that's one thing I'm wondering. Like, do you think he's going to be a PvP based character?
I don't know. Well, it's a very sturdy and tanky. So I'm thinking that they're going to be a good defensive team. I don't know how well they'll do on offense. We really need to see Thorin's kit first. But from what I've gathered now in Arena, they kind of pine out versus Rivendell, mainly because they're so slow and they don't have that much damage. But
they tank like hell.
Yeah, so I can see them being a very good defensive team.
But if you look at Killy Philly's kits, even if you throw in Biffa, there's enough there that they could potentially be an offensive team as well.
Yeah, I can see that as well. Yeah, I just think they'll do better on defense.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think just in general, the dwarves lean towards being defensive teams with their high armor, high health, very low speed.
Yeah, that's another thing. I'm interested to see if Thorin will make them faster in any way. I don't think Thorin will give them any AoE, because that's the 2 things that they're missing, dwarves, is AoE and speed.
But thematically, what would they have to make them AoE?
Yeah, that's the thing. I don't think they will get
they're all just single target, axe wielding.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, Thorin's got a sword, but yeah,
Yeah, so I think that they're going to get more speed, if anything. Maybe a haste buff. I don't think we're at a point in the game where they would just straight up add speed to a character.
Maybe Bombur just grants himself 100% turn meter.
Yes, 100% speed.
Like that scene in that movie where he just legs it past everyone.
Yeah. I thought that was the most appropriate gif I could find. Oh, that was amazing. Yeah, I think it's going to be some sort of haste. Yeah, probably haste. Yeah.
Haste would make them pretty strong. The other thing is, I believe we're going to start seeing characters that would definitely have glyphs in mind.
Yeah.
Glyphs are applicable to all of the characters we've got to date, but now
they're officially
official.
Yeah.
They're going to be released with glyphs pretty much in mind.
I can see that too, yeah. I hope we start seeing more power creep to characters as well. Not that I want power creep to ramp quickly, because I think if it ramps too quickly, then it kind of just ruins the game in a way. Yeah, I would like to start seeing a bit more power creep. And I think we will with PvP coming around as well.
Yeah, well, I think PvP, usually legendaries bring power creep.
Yeah.
So I'm curious whether Thorin's going to bring a creep with him. If we're thinking he's
a creep with him.
Baggins.
Yeah, I think he definitely will. He's a legendary. He's gonna be good.
But if we're thinking he's a marquee level character, that's gonna need Bilbo to bring him to legendary status. That doesn't scream power creep to me.
True. Yeah, I'm not sure.
Well, we won't know until maybe the next podcast, and we'll have some kits.
Yes. Tuesday for us.
Yep. Yeah, so we'll see Thorin's kits and his unlock requirements as well. So
I think it's very interesting how just this one thing has got the community really stumped. It's just dwarves are too easy, but everything else doesn't really make sense. What the fuck?
Yeah, no, I'm stumped as well. Are they charitable?
I don't know. I don't think they're that charitable. They still, it's their job after all. They still need to make money.
But I mean, it's Christmas.
Yeah, and the Grinch exists too. Not everyone likes Christmas.
Well, yeah, we'll find out in a few days' time, one way or another.
Yeah.
All right. Well, on that note, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. I hope you guys learnt a bit in terms of the glyphs and our insight into a few of the characters. So, as always, if you do like this, please give us a like and subscribe. Leave any comments as well. We'd like to hear your thoughts on our episodes and what you liked out of them, and also what you would like that we're not doing. So, yeah, please feel free to leave any comments. But otherwise, we'll catch you guys next time.